बहुत बड़ा सानहा जो मेरे साथ हुआ था अंदर से, तो तूफान चल रहा था कि मुझे अभी तक ना समझ नहीं आ रही थी कि प्रॉफेट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गारे हिरा में जाते थे. सो why is that not the most important event for every man, every woman? And मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि मुझे वो गारे हिरा चाहिए ना. And I mean, it's a true story. I mean, these are the very words I used to think about. फ्रॉइडियन रिग्रेशन कहते हैं ना उसको, आप एक खास स्टेट में बोलते हैं. मोस्टली साइंस अब पहुंच चुकी है इस बात को, ये बात बताती है साइंस लिटरली कि 40th ईयर में आपके साथ ये वाकया हो जाता है, मतलब क्लोज टू 40, right before 40. और मुझे 20 साल पहले हो रहा था ये वाकया. So I was thinking this is something else. Maybe I'm not well.
Seriously thinking about it today, with the kind of confusion is around there in gender identity, I would have for sure thought ke ye galati ho gayi hai, kudrat se I should have been a boy. I hated being a girl. Ladki ko koi ghardari aani chahiye, kuch is tarah ka kaam aana chahiye. Literally, I heard this phrase so many times from different relatives that she's brilliant, but what a waste, because she's a girl. What a waste. Ladki ne intelligent hoke kya karna hai? I heard that many times growing up. So
I'm going to give you my own perspective of why I am doing whatever I'm doing. It's been a couple of decades जब से मेरा वो जो जिसे कहते हैं ना चुप लग गई हो, क्या लुत्फ अंजुमन का जब दिल ही बुझ गया हो. When I lost the very humor of being in this planet, literally. And मेरे दोस्त, मतलब I'm a guy of guys. I mean, I was raised up in 3 brothers. I was the middle child of 3 boys when we grew up. When we were growing up, so all of my friends of my brothers were my friends. My friends were my brother's friends. So we were like a whole city growing up of boys. So all of my friends started to wither off slowly in my late 20s because I went quiet. So mujhe, that observation mode and that reflective thinking, meri jo hai na wo, it just made me. It was not depression, and I'm pretty sure everybody goes through this. Nabi Islam ne shah farmaya ke jo मोमिन का जो एक दिन होता है ना, उसके आने वाला दिन, जो आज का दिन है, वो गुजरे वाले दिन से बेहतर नहीं है. तो इस्लाम समझ नहीं आ रहा उसको अभी तक. So I was keep on cringing on my own self at internally के where is my improvement. मुझे एक बहुत बहुत बड़ा सानहा जो मेरे साथ हुआ था अंदर से, तो तूफान चल रहा था कि मुझे अभी तक ना समझ नहीं आ रही थी कि प्रॉफेट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गारे हिरा में जाते थे. So why is that not the most important event for every man, every woman? And मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि मुझे वो गारे हिरा चाहिए ना. And I mean, it's a true story. I mean, these are the very words I used to think about. कि why am I not settled in this, and I was in Toronto, I remember at that time, and मुझे हर बंदे से बात करते हुए मेरा एक ही कॉमन स्टेटमेंट चल रही थी कि do you not feel suffocated? Do you not feel as if you're stifling? And people used to as soon as they started to think I'm crazy, I used to leave the conversation like, yeah, it's all right. Let's just keep doing whatever we're doing. इस तरह करते करते मेरे मामलात जो थे ना late 20s के अंदर, I started to go so quiet that I wanted to find that peace, But it was not मैं कोई वो gurus and Zen state नहीं chase कर रहा था. I just wanted to see why am I not finding humor in anything anymore. So वहां से फ्रॉइडियन रिग्रेशन कहते हैं ना उसको, आप एक खास स्टेट में बोलते हैं. मोस्टली साइंस अब पहुंच चुकी है इस बात को, ये बात बताती है साइंस लिटरली कि 40th ईयर में आपके साथ ये वाकया हो जाता है, मतलब क्लोज टू 40, right before 40. और मुझे 20 साल पहले हो रहा था ये वाकया. So I was thinking this is something else. Maybe I'm not well. And most of my friends were doctors, so I was calling all of my friends कि check करो मेरे दिमाग में कोई मसला शुरू हो गया. I think maybe I'm in depression, but I'm not in depression. I mean, I've got everything. Maybe I've lost the purpose. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's so many questions I have to answer to my own self rather than to people. And for that, I regressed back to my own books, my own teachers. And I just started to find new meanings of the same verses of the Quran and the Hadith and the science and the physics and the biology, literally biology, mostly psychology. मुझे हर चीज दूसरी तरीके से नजर आना शुरू हो गई थी. Maybe मैं ये सोचता था कि इसको eisegesis कहते हैं psychology में ना. Maybe I was trying to pick whatever I really wanted to pick at that time from the same books I used to read. So
already a psychologist by then?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Yeah. I was not, I was in the corporate, so I was not practicing anything. But corporate में होता क्या है कि पाकिस्तान में तो जिसको माइक्रोफोन मिलता है वो गुरु बन जाता है ना. तो वहाँ पे पब्लिक स्पीकिंग के पीछे एक लॉ है कि you cannot hold a level of influence unless you are licensed or have a very credible degree in any of these sciences, which is one of them is psychology. So मेरी कंपनी ने मुझे करवानी थी ये सारे के सारे sponsorships के आप करें, because I was in training and development. So but that happened way before. This happened way later. In my late 20s, I was professionally doing well. I was on the cover of magazines because of the kind of money I was earning, because of the kind of trajectory मुझे मिल गई थी. पाकिस्तान में जब आया तो तब भी I was on a fast track of promotions over promotions and everything was going well, but I was the quietest person in town, literally in town. And I was the funniest man in school, funniest man in college and universities, funniest man in my own friends' circle. I mean, sense of humor used to be the thing of my family. My father was the funniest man I know. And all of a sudden ये वाकया मेरे साथ हुआ और उसके बाद I found it so easy to open books, so easy. It was like that's something that is to lock and key principle. नहीं होता चाबी जो है वो ताले में फिट हो जाती है. It made me so satisfied, internally to read, as if कि जैसे भूख में खाना मिल गया हो आपको. तो and I used to dwell into concepts over concepts, और मुझे पता ही नहीं हो रहा था दिन कब गुजर गया, रात कब गुजर गई, literally. So my family used to tell me कि क्या टाइम हो चुका है दिन का. मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि 24 घंटे हुए हैं, 36 घंटे हो गए हैं किताबों के अंदर, एक दो बुक्स के अंदर घुसा होता हूँ. So, and it's not like I was trying to find something in particular. I was just going through the same kind of concepts के किस तरीके से meanings of the same words have been taken maybe out of bound or out of context, and that's how it started for me. I started explaining the same things as if कि वो नहीं होती वो जो amazement and wonder में अपने ही दोस्तों को, अपने ही भाइयों को कि you know what, this is what we read, and you know what this actually means, ऐसे करके मैं बात करता हूँ. So it became a very crazy 5, 6, 7 years before everybody started running away from me, because this man is just going to start to talk about some core concepts.
Preacher. You were a preacher.
Yeah, I swear. मुझे याद है मैं जब टोरंटो से पाकिस्तान आ रहा था ना, तो passport के ऊपर ना पाकिस्तान एम्बेसी में उन्होंने कहा वहां पे उस वक्त लिखते होंगे, अब I don't remember अभी लिखते हैं कि नहीं passport पे profession क्या है, and I said religious speaker. I was dead center inside the corporate. And he looked at me and he said, और पाकिस्तानी था ना, he said, आपको कभी मैंने सुना नहीं पहले. And I said, yeah, मुझे किसी ने भी नहीं सुना अभी तक. But it is so ironic. Yeah, it is so ironic कि मैंने I don't know why I picked that word out, मैं आजकल भी सोचता था जब भी ये passport सामने से गुजरता है, I just keep thinking about why did I say that? It was like, one of those things. But I'll tell you this right now, my central concept was the Ghar Hira, literally. अभी तक मैं Ghar Hira के concept से, इसे कहते हैं ना, underwhelmed नहीं हो सका हूँ, if there is such a concept. I'm still overwhelmed by the very concept कि आप सोचें इरम कि आपका बेटा बेटी बहन भाई कोई अचानक लाहौर के किसी एक खास पहाड़ के ऊपर जाता हो और कई दिन वहां पे रहता और वापस आता और comes back to fascinate you, with his own concepts and the way he's thinking about certain things which are relevant to you, तो आप फिर भी we're not designed to to take that sort of concept with us. We'll be like, yaar, koi masla hai is bande ke sath. That's what we're going to think. So I keep telling girls right now, especially young girls in their, early teens, late teens, ke Allah Ta'ala ne na ladkiyon ko ek khas gift diya hai, which boys never know. I mean, when I had my daughters, that's when I knew, when I had my daughter, I was like, yeah, ye to...
That little finger.
Yeah, it's you guys are natural born reflective thinkers. मुझे ये neurology बाद में मैंने पढ़ी ना, मैंने तो बहुत बाद में neurology में छलांग लगाई है inevitability की वजह से, क्योंकि psychology मुझे satisfy नहीं कर रही थी. I wanted to go into real science. Well, not that, no offense to all the psychologists, but when you go into neuro, you find out that that's the real science behind all of whatever we go through. And I spent a decade before I could actually come out with some sort of a sense ke neuro ki asal mein sense kya. And that's when I found out ke, there's certain things in a woman's brain jo ke designed to do reflective thinking hai, jo ke aadmiyon ko bahut late develop karni padti hai adaptive behavior ke through, and which we do, by the way. It's not that men are handicapped here, but we can. But girls are natural born reflective thinkers. So that's your ghara hira right there. You just have to find out where you can be comfortable with your own self. You can talk to yourself. You embrace yourself. But that actually means is, ye kitabi baatein ya Deepak Chopra ka koi mantra nahi bata raha hu. What I'm saying is, no, literally, that as soon as you go into your ghara hira, you become oblivious. First you know the translation of how shallow those words are, which you used to care so much about from people. And then you find out that there is a language that you actually can speak with your own self. It's not English, Urdu, or anything. There's a language that you speak with your own self, and it's such a fast language, and you understand the reality of all truths and all things which are false so clearly if you get to know yourself. Or it's only though for those people जिनको समझ आ रही होगी ये बात, जिनके साथ ये वाकया हो रहा है कि हर एक को अल्लाह ने ऑप्शन दी हुई है, सामने गारे हिरा होते हैं हमारे.
My journey started with a lot of rebellion. I was an only daughter. I had two brothers and lots of male cousins. Belonged to an army family, so a lot of very masculine type of men around us. And from a very young age, ये समझ मुझे आ गई थी कि I am somewhat of Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with intelligence. Top वॉप करती थी, तो ये लड़कों से मुकाबलाबाजी मेरे अंदर बड़ी young age में. एक तो it was a matter of survival, क्योंकि वो अपने साथ खेलने नहीं देते थे, right? कि अगर रोने लग गई तो लड़की 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 कह के वो मुझे निकाल देते थे, निकालो इसको, इसके साथ नहीं खेलना. और so I would play games like चोर पुलिस, वो जो तरकोनों से मार के खेलते थे दरख्तों पे चढ़ के. I never played with dolls. मैं mechano set के साथ खेलती थी, because that was how I could fit in and feel a sense of connection. और फिर एक certain age के ऊपर आके I was told, you can't do these things anymore. क्यों? Because you're a girl. Of course, I understand from my mother's perspective that she was doing what was culturally appropriate, of course. But in my young mind, it made no sense because my whole identity was around being a tomboy. दोपहर को साइकिल लेके निकल गए अम्मी अबू से छुप के. अब जाहिर है my mother would be scared कि ये 13-14 साल की लड़की शिकल दोपहर में जब सब सो रहे होते हैं ये अकेली साइकिल लेके निकल जाती है. No, that's not safe for a young girl. तो उस पे अब जी, but this was in Pakistan. I grew up in Pakistan, Kent में. तो वो अम्मी ने मेरी साइकिल्स ले ली. तो उसके बाद मैं जो बैटमैन की साइकिल होती थी सोहराब की वो लेके निकल जाती थी. वहां पे किसी ने शिकायत लगा दी कि दोपहर को ये रोज साइकिल चलाने निकली होती है दोपहर में गर्मी में. So my seriously thinking about it today with the kind of confusion is around there in gender identity, I would have for sure thought कि ये गलती हो गई है, कुदरत से I should have been a boy. I hated being a girl after that because so many things that I wanted to do, I thought like boys, I played with boys. So when I was told I couldn't do so many of those things anymore, I became very rebellious and I started to resent God from a very young age. कि जब मेरी मर्जी नहीं थी, मेरी choice नहीं थी, तूने मुझे इस gender में क्यों पैदा किया? All the fun seems to be going to all the boys and I'm stuck at home and I don't want to play with dolls. It just didn't make sense to me. So then I found escape in books. Or Allah Ta'ala, Ami Meri ko Jannat Naseeb Kare, she was really one of the most, I would say, probably not one, the strongest person I have ever met. Badi dabang khatun thi. But she was also quite conservative. तो उनका माइंडसेट ये था साहिल कि लड़की को कोई घरदारी आनी चाहिए, कुछ इस तरह का काम आना चाहिए. Literally, I heard this phrase so many times from different relatives that she's brilliant, but what a waste, because she's a girl, you know, what a waste. लड़की को तो लड़की ने intelligent होके क्या करना है? I heard that many times growing up. So when I did pre-medical, got good grades, और मैं उस time पे I wanted to do genetic engineering, जो कभी उस वक्त किसी ने सुनी भी नहीं थी. And I really good. And I was, my biology teacher actually asked my mother, she really begged her, कि she's gifted in this, let her pursue this. But अम्मी ने कहा, किसी सूरत में नहीं, कुड़ी को इस तरफ लगाना ही नहीं है कि ये किसी डिग्री शिग्री के चक्कर में पड़े. और Punjabi, you understand Punjabi, Sahil?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My family's from Lahore, yeah.
तो वो पंजाबी में अब्बू को कहती थी कि जे इस कुड़ी दे हाथ च डिग्री आ गई ते जे है वस गई ते मैनू कहना. So वो ये कहती थी इसको तो डिग्री नहीं. I was pretty, you know, strong-headed. अब्बू की लाडली थी. अब्बू had always taught us. He raised us because he's an engineer. He raised us with always questioning things, right? कि अगर ये पंखा है तो पंखे के इतने 3 ब्लेड हैं तो 3 ब्लेड क्यों है, और ब्लेड में वो खम क्यों है, और वो कितने डिग्री का एंगल है, and why, you know, like things like that. He would make us think and question everything. So I started resenting God, and you know, when time came, तो रो पिट के फिर अच्छा जी MBA करने दें, अगर जेनेटिक इंजीनियरिंग नहीं करने दी, लम्स में दाखला हो गया. एंड अम्मी ने कहा नो वे. शादी हो गई. शादी भी इसलिए की, रिश्ता ऑस्टन से आया हुआ था. मैंने सोचा लो जी ऑस्टन में जाके UT ऑस्टन में MBA कर लूंगी, you know, something like that. But I won't go into the details of that. That was my first marriage, ended up being abusive, and then I got divorced after 8 years, had a daughter from that marriage. And then my relationship with Allah Ta'ala during that time only got worse. इतनी वर्स थी साहिल, कुछ लोग इसके ऊपर कोई फतवा ना निकाल दें, but when I was 18, I remember, I want to mention another thing here, that my mother was a very religious woman. जिस तरह से कुछ लोग born with a tendency of होते हैं ना, they're very religious, and she was a very pious, बहुत इबादत गुजार खातून थी. She was actually also a founding member of Al-Huda. And I grew up with the influence of Al-Huda on me very strongly. And I want to mention here that I have deep respect for Dr. Farhat Hashmi and the work she's done, but I disagreed with a lot of the things that Al-Huda was preaching and the kind of stuff they were talking about, especially regarding women's rights, about, you know, and so I would ask a lot of questions which did not sit well ever with anybody. So I started to just hate God, like कि तुम्हें नाकिस भी बनाया है, तुम्हें नाकिसुल अक्ल भी बनाया है, तुम मान जाओ कि तुम नाकिसुल अक्ल हो क्योंकि अल्लाह यही कहता है, right? Which Allah doesn't, but that's what I was told. And you are inferior to men, which I was like, there's no way I'm going to accept that. And in सारी कहानी में जो villain था वो Allah Ta'ala. So I basically, at one time I declared it to Allah Ta'ala. I said, you know, I know you exist. And I know that you're very, very powerful. You can destroy me in this spot that I'm standing. You can finish me. The one thing you can't do, this was me at 18 years old. I said, the one thing you can't do is make me love you. So I want you to know that I hate you. I hate you, and I know you will put me in hell for this, whatever, but I want you to know I hate you. I was so angry at Allah Ta'ala. And I'm sharing this with you because unless we really realize that there are young girls who are at the very moment going through a process like this, where they are asking questions and they're being told to shut up and not ask questions, what happens is that then they become very distant from Islam and from Allah Ta'ala. So I was a walking, talking example of that. So after my second divorce, I started to, which was also abusive, that's when I started to basically say, you know what, something is wrong. I have to take responsibility for why my life keeps going through these cycles of destruction again and again. I am the only common denominator in this picture. So कुछ ना कुछ तो मैं कर रही हूँ ना, कहीं ना कहीं तो मेरी responsibility बनती है, and I want to find out what role have I played in my past so that I could change that for my future. So with that, I started to go into the Western self-development movement. I was fortunate enough to really learn from some of the top teachers in the world in the consciousness movement and the spirituality and self-development. Side by side, मैंने थोड़ा सा सूफिज्म में भी देखना शुरू किया. अभी तक अल्लाह ताला के साथ और इस्लाम के साथ रिलेशनशिप, कुछ और वाकयात हुए जिससे वर्सन ही होती रही. I fell in love with balanced personalities and emotional intelligence. उस जमाने में तो EQ और emotional intelligence इतने trend में नहीं थी, but that's what I really started to just fall in love with, and I valued that. And I, you know, लोगों के fans, they would be fans of Hollywood stars or Bollywood stars. They meant nothing to me. I was total fans of like people that had it figured out, you know. तो मैंने जब ये शुरू किया, what happened was कि इस्लाम और अल्लाह ताला से हालात मेरे मखदूश थे, but रसूल पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम से मैं बहुत impressed थी. Whenever I read about him, that much I knew कि this personality was a very, very unique and beautiful personality. So emotional intelligence, और उसमें जब भी मैं अपनी research करती थी, and I wanted to find an example of excellence, ultimately वहीं पे आके सुई रुकती थी. किसी भी रोल में आप देख लें, role as a husband, role as a leader, role as a prophet, role as a statesman, as a warrior, as whichever, as a friend, as a father, as a son, whichever role, and we have so much historical evidence about the different roles that Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam played. भी उसमें देखती थी, it was to this level of excellence. So I started to study his life as an objective, kind of like a researcher, not with that reverence that we have for him as a prophet. उनको human से हम ऊपर दर्जा देके फिर उस reverence से देखते हैं. I wanted to see him as a human being. I wanted to study him as a human being. And the more I studied him, the more I just absolutely fell in love with him. And I said, okay, so there is absolutely no question in my mind that he was a prophet and he was the most exalted example of excellence I have ever seen. And he preached Islam. He loved Islam. So I need to give Islam a second chance. I need to look at Islam again. Maybe the information I got was not correct. तो वहां से मेरी फिर जब जर्नी शुरू हुई, and it's so beautiful कि आप गारे हिरा की बात कर रहे थे, एक तरह से नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ही ने गाइड किया, right? उनकी हयात तैयबा के एग्जाम्पल ने आपको गाइड किया. And for me also, it was Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who guided me back in a way, because his personality, even after almost 1,500 years later, it still pulls you. तो मैं भी फिर वो चुप के रोजे से मैं भी गुजरी, जिसमें my lips were sealed. When people asked me and talked to me, आपने देखा होगा मैं बहुत बातूनी हूँ, बात करने की बहुत आदत है मुझे. I could not speak. When somebody would ask me, and by this time I was running a telesummit, so I was a, kind of like an interviewer and a speaker, and people would ask me and I would say, it's as if I have lost words. I no longer have words. I feel so lost. Everything that I have known and understood, which by that time I understood a lot about the Western spiritual movement and, mind sciences and all that. I said, everything that I have understood has come under question. And I feel like I'm totally ignorant and I have no answers to anything. So when people ask me, I feel like I have no words. और उसके बाद वही जो आप बात कह रहे थे, that was my गारे हिरा. suddenly things started to make so much sense. और मेरी सुई आके वापस रुकती थी अल्लाह पे. The answer to every problem, everything that we face can be solved with this understanding that the source of connection, our source of connection and our source of strength has to be Allah Ta'ala, because everything else is an illusion, and it's an attachment to an illusion which is temporary, which could be there or could not be there. But when you attach to Allah Ta'ala, He's permanent. He's not going anywhere. And therefore, your source of strength and your source of happiness, your source of joy, source Allah ko, तो मेरी वो ऐसी कोई ऐसा पलटा खाया मैंने कि मैं फिर वो जो इश्क का रास्ता कहते हैं, मोहब्बत का रिश्ता कहते हैं, वो जो भी आप उसको कह लें, कि मैं फिर उसको बेस्ट फ्रेंड की तरह मैंने समझा. उसने मुझे जिस situation से जैसे जैसे निकाला. आप जानते हैं, आप you've lived in West, I was in Dallas, you know, going through 4-5 lawsuits simultaneously. So my divorce case, my custody case, there was my bankruptcy case, my lawyers had sued me, all of that simultaneously without a lawyer representing me, because I had run out of money. I had to represent myself. And then for me to win all those cases, and I don't have any law degree, and nor do I know, खाली paper लेके judge के सामने चली जाती थी हर दफा, और I would cry in the court, you know, because I didn't know what to do. And the judge would literally be like this, ma'am, why don't you get a lawyer? I said, I can't get anybody pro bono because the opposing attorney scares him. I can't hire anybody because I don't have any money. And I keep showing up, Your Honor, because I want you to know I care. I care about the custody of my daughters. I just don't know what to do now. तो एक एक करके इतनी मुश्किल सिचुएशन, क्योंकि उस वक्त मुझे सिर्फ एक बस वो रस्सी पकड़ी हुई थी अल्लाह की, कि एक अगर ये मेरा रब है तो ये मेरी बच्चियों का भी रब है, और रब का मतलब है पालने वाला. तो फिर ये ही कुछ करेगा, मुझे नहीं पता मैंने क्या करना है. My job is to just show up, and I will show up every day. Rest, I don't know. वो एक एक करके उसने जिस तरह से ऐसा रास्ते खोले, ऐसे उसने miracles, जो कि सिर्फ मैं जानती थी कि these are miracles because I knew how difficult the situation was. वहां से साहिल जो मेरा उसके साथ एक याराना आप कह सकते हैं, इश्क कह सकते हैं, दोस्ती कह सकते हैं, उसको मैं अपना बेस्ट फ्रेंड कहती हूँ, कभी मैं सहेली कहती हूँ, because Allah has no gender and Allah says you can, जैसे मुझसे गुमान करोगे वैसा पाओगे. मुझे वो बस उसको मैंने ऐसे वो मेरे वो अल्लाह ताला भी, मैं सीन सोचती हूँ जब मैं 18 साल की उसको चैलेंज कर रही थी कि what you can't make me do is love you. उस वक्त अल्लाह ताला ने कहा होगा, हाँ बच्चू देखते हैं, चल आगे चल के देखते हैं कि तू फिर बाद में मेरे इश्क की कहानियां लोगों को सुनाएगी